Within the church, we have a number of ages that mark exciting transitions. Parents often look forward to their infants turning 18 months as it means they can now enter nursery. At 8 years old, kids can make the decision to be baptized. At 12, teens enter the youth programs. And at 18, graduations, missions, and college are exciting adventures for many. But hang on, you're probably thinking that I missed an important age, right? What about 16? One of the most anticipated birthdays. Not only can you get your driver's license, but according to church standards, you can also start dating. I'm sure many of you have been or are excited about turning 16. So do you wait 16 years to go on boring dates with someone you have no interest in? Of course not. While you can probably decide for yourself who you'd like to take on a date, I'm going to share with you some information regarding the purposes of dating, as well as a few tips for planning a great date. Now, I can't ensure that by following these tips you'll never have an awkward date. We all know that everyone has at least one, but I can promise that your dates are more likely to be enjoyable if you do follow these tips. So what's the purpose of dating? The For the Strength of Youth pamphlet says that a date is a planned activity that allows a young man and a young woman to get to know each other better. So the purpose of dating is obviously to get to know one another in a planned setting. The word planned is something we're going to be coming back to. Looking back on my own experiences, some of my most memorable times in high school were on group dates. I was able to go on a number of dates with a variety of people, and it was a blast. I learned how to interact with other people and was able to experience a variety of things that I normally wouldn't have chosen to do. The For the Strength of Youth pamphlet also says that dating can help you learn and practice social skills, develop friendships, have wholesome fun, and eventually find an eternal companion. I think that in high school it's important to note that they say dating will help you eventually find an eternal companion. The world's view on dating is a little bit different, but I know that keeping relationships casual in high school keeps a lot of opportunities open and allows us to be blessed in a variety of ways. Now we're going back to that one word, planned. One of the most important things to do in pulling a date together is to plan it. Spontaneity can definitely be fun, and there are times when a change in plans becomes a great adventure. However, it's likely that a poorly planned date will end up being more awkward than fun. In high school, there was a guy in my group of friends from my track team who asked me on a date. It was supposed to be a group date, but ended up not being planned very well at all. It ended up being the two of us, and we went and got dinner and then ended up going bowling. As you know, bowling is kind of a back and forth activity. It works well when you have a number of people around or when you and the other person know each other very well. However, because we didn't know each other very well and because bowling leaves little time for conversation, it ended up being very awkward. He was a great guy, but had things been planned a little better, the experience would have been different. Planning a date involves planning who's going to be there, what you will be doing and where, and having a definite day and time that the date will be occurring. Don't just assume you know the hour someplace is open or that you'll be able to grab a bunch of friends last minute to join. Have it planned and check out the details before the date. Putting the time and effort in ahead of time not only pays off during the date, but also shows your date that you were interested enough to thoroughly plan it so it could be successful. So now we're going to move on to some more of the tips. Make sure you plan an activity that gives you time to get to know the other person. While movies are fun and appropriate at times, they don't necessarily provide the best environment to learn more about your date. Elder Robert D. Hale said, "Dating is an opportunity for lengthy conversations. When you date, learn everything you can about each other. Get to know each other's families when possible. Are your goals compatible? Do you share the same feelings about the commandments, the Savior, the priesthood, the temple, parenting, callings in the church, and serving others?" While dating in high school should be kept casual and fun, it is also important to start learning about others and their standards. Doing so helps you gauge the kind of person you eventually want to end up with. Now, while you want to interact with your date, you also want to make sure you have something to do. This activity should be picked while keeping all those who will be participating in mind. Be sure you know enough about your date that you can plan what to do accordingly. Does your date have a food allergy? Do they have a knee injury and can't hike? These and other similar questions are good things to keep in mind. I would also like to note that choosing an environment where the spirit can be present is important. Dates should be uplifting and fun, not environments where things can become risky. The last thing I would like to mention is respecting your date. President Monson said, "In dating, treat your date with respect and expect your date to show the same respect for you." You and your dates are sons and daughters of Heavenly Father. You both have a divine worth and should be treated as such. Opening doors, speaking with appropriate language, and respecting your date's time are all things that show your date you care about them. Even if you aren't interested in them for a serious relationship, being respectful is important. As you can see, there are a number of things you can do to plan a great date. Invest your time and effort into planning these dates so the experiences are worthwhile. Dates in high school are meant to be fun. They're meant to create and strengthen friendships. Dating appropriately in high school helps prepare you for more serious dating in future years.